I'm Greg Rockefeller.
I'm Beth Rockefeller.
And I'm Mia Rockefeller. And this is Reading with the Rockefellers, a family book club podcast.
Today we are discussing Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard.
So grab a copy and join us on this literary journey. Welcome back to a bonus episode of Reading with the Rockefellers. Today we'll be discussing our dream casting for the upcoming Peacock series based on the books. We've been talking about this one for a long time, and we're excited to finally bring it to you. So sit back and relax and join the discussion with us.
Yes. This has been a long-awaited bonus episode.
It's finally here. All the fan casting you could want. So do we want to just jump in with Mare?
Sure.
And start with our
I think that's where we
number
need to,
one for Mare and work our way back?
We need to start. Well, I don't know that we even have our numbers yet. We might have kind of an idea, but I think that's what this will get us to.
Yeah, I think like with your list, probably the first person on each of the list is the one like that we've talked about the most.
Not necessarily.
Not always, but quite a few.
A lot of them, but I also think, excuse me, what I want to do is by the end of this, us have our idea of who we want as our lead for each character, and then like an understudy, a secondary. They would be a good fit if, for whatever reason, our first choice was unable to fulfill the role. So I think that's where we're going. So let's start. We'll start with Mare. Mm-hmm. Who do we start with here? This is one I think, Beth, that you had come up with that we kind of liked early on. And that was Chloe Grace Moretz.
Chloe Grace Moretz, yeah.
Yes.
We know that she can do the physical stuff because she's been doing it since Kick-Ass when she was little.
She's been acting. I mean,
she's been acting for a long time.
I find watching movies while I'm working during the day, movies that she was in when she was like 4 and 5 years old. So she's been acting. She's only in her early 20s, and she's been acting for like 20 years already at this point. So that's a pretty good one. Mia, do you want to see a picture, or do you know?
I've seen a couple pictures. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good one.
Yes.
I do like that one. Some of the other options we have here, we were looking through.
Mare has by far the most options, so bear with us for this first section.
You brought one up, Mia.
Yeah, because we saw this one online, but it was like on like a MyCast or whatever,
right.
But it was further down. She was further down.
And that's Melina Wiseman.
Yeah.
From the series of Unfortunate Events, if you've seen that. The main, you know what we're talking about?
It's Violet.
Oh, Violet.
A series of Unfortunate Events. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that name. But
she's about the age now.
Yeah. That's a good one. I didn't even consider that. She can definitely do the sass.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think she can hold her own in that sense.
And I think she could pull it off without it coming off just whiny and annoying.
Right.
Which is a quality that Mare needs to have.
Yeah.
Like, she can pull off kind of attitude and, like, everything that she does do and say without it coming off just annoying and whiny.
Stiff upper lip and kind of, not seeming to let anything bother her on the surface.
Right.
Yeah.
Holding it together.
I think that could be a possibility.
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Yes.
Now, the third one, because we'll discuss all these once we get them going. The third one is one that I've seen in several places, and it can be controversial, but I don't hate it necessarily, because she's actually right now the exact age Mare is, and that's Millie Bobby Brown.
Right.
Yeah. I think Millie Bobby Brown, to me, is just always going to be strained through an 11 perspective. So since they're really different characters, it's kind of hard for me to see that.
I mean, that's true, but you've seen her in Godzilla.
Yeah.
She was good in those. She was a different character.
Completely different person.
So
I don't hate it.
It's not like she doesn't have range.
Right. That's true.
Hate it.
I don't hate it. I think
it'd just be difficult for you to see. It's hard for you to picture.
Because she's more girly and feminine than what I would picture Mare.
That is true.
But at least we know, I mean, all of these actresses, we've seen them clean up fairly nicely. Right. But we know that Millie Bobby Brown, like when she goes to award shows and stuff, she can look glamorous and regal, so she could pull that part of it off when she's having to do the Marina Titanos part.
Yeah, she can definitely, I think, pull it off from an acting perspective. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. So
I think she would just have to be a little more forceful to kind of overcome that predisposition to seeing her as more of a sympathetic figure, you know.
But I think that would also be like good as a career move.
True.
To get out of that.
True. That's very true.
So that's not just how people always see her.
The next one is the one that I think I like the most.
Haley Steinfeld?
Haley Steinfeld.
It's a good one.
You could get her to sing like an original song on the soundtrack, bring that whole thing into it. She apparently has a history with our number one choice for Maven. So there would be some chemistry there that you wouldn't have to fake.
Yeah.
So I think
it's a good one.
Haley Steinfeld is
and she can
kind of top of the list.
If you haven't seen the remake of True Grit, she's phenomenal in it. She really is. She was like 14 or 15 when she made that.
Yeah. And she can definitely hold her own on camera.
Right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like it. And then I had the next one I had was Julia Garner from, you know her, Beth, from Ozark.
Ozark, yeah, and Inventing Anna.
The crap out of it. And the one thing I like about her is her, especially the way that she plays the character in Ozark.
Yeah.
She definitely has that mare sass.
Yeah, the mouth for sure.
But it doesn't come across as just being a whiny kid. It comes from, she may be young, but she's been through some crap.
Right.
So it's legit.
And that's very close to Ruth Langmore in Ozark, too.
Right, exactly.
She's young when the show starts, but she's been through some stuff. So she's definitely seen it. Julia Garner now is the good things or big things come in small packages person because she is so tiny, but she has such a big personality that comes out.
Mare.
And that could really fit Mare. You'd have to throw a wig on her, but that's fine. She had a wig in Inventing Anna.
Right.
So I don't think that part of it would be a problem because I don't see Mare having that real curly hair like she has.
No.
But as far as like the hold your ground, you know, I could see her screaming, I'm not going to be a pawn in your game type situation.
Right.
But some of the more vulnerable parts might be what she would struggle with.
Right.
You know, showing the parts where Mare's kind of more lonely and she's
doubting herself.
Right. And that's just not something that we really see that much from characters that Julia Garner usually plays. But she is a wonderful actress, so I'm sure the range would be there.
Right. Right.
And the newcomer to the party, who I also really like because I think she could handle the sassiness of Mare, is Jenna Ortega. Probably best known currently for playing the modern version of Drew Barrymore's character in Scream. She is in the new Scream, the one with Jack Quaid.
Does she get killed immediately?
Excuse me. Yeah, she's the girl in the beginning that is home alone and the killer calls. But she's more than what Casey was in the first Scream. You know, she's not as naive. And the killer kind of gives her like the horror movie questions, blah, 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 blah. And she answers all of them because she's, you know, been watching horror movies her whole life and stuff like that. So Jenna Ortega can definitely pull off the sass. She's got kind of the darker skin look that some people have talked about. But you could still see her sort of passing as not as ethnic, you know, if they want to play her kind of mid-range to where she looks like she could have paler siblings.
Right.
So I think that's a good choice. And she's pretty close in age, too. Julia Garner kind of falls a little on the older side.
She does.
As does Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah.
She's a little bit on the older side, but they're both tinier, younger looking actresses. So I think they could pull that off if we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if you're going to look at something that's going to span this whole length of time, you know, you're going to have, especially if they do Broken Throne, you're going to have somebody that they can kind of play a little older, because when they get to the continuation of Mare's story in Broken Throne, it's a few years after the end of the books. So it's going to be kind of like at the end of Harry Potter when they had to dress them all up and make them look older like their parents now.
Yeah.
So you'd want somebody that could kind of get that more maturity range too, to play Mare at the end of it when she's gone through all of the crap.
But I mean, we're also talking about if it is a show, or even if it's a movie series, regardless of how it works. Currently, it's a show that they're planning, but there'll still be time between seasons, so there'll still be, you know, it'll still take a couple years for the entirety of the base 4 books to be adapted. So I guess you have to also think about that. Like, especially when you're casting younger actors, like, are they basically done changing? Or what will they look like in 4 years when we're still supposed to be in a 1-year timeline, but it's been 4 years because we're having to make a show?
That's true. The book does not, the first 4 books do not span that great of a length of time.
No, I think it's a year.
It's very, very short. Yeah.
It's about a year.
It's about a year.
Over the first 4 books.
And then there's like a flash forward at the very end that kind of goes forward a little bit.
Is there?
I thought there was. I don't know. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It has. War Storm's not fresh in my mind.
So what we have here, excuse me. So what we have here,
we're still sick.
Who are our options? Let's all say who our number 1 would be. I mean, Beth, who do you say? You said you like Haley Steinfeld.
I'd pick Haley Steinfeld. Yeah.
Mia, what do you think?
I don't know. It is harder because I do just know fewer actors and actresses because I'm younger, so that does make this slightly harder. So I can't like attest to acting ability for some of these people.
Right.
But I trust you guys.
Yeah, I would say that number 1 would probably be Haley Steinfeld if we were going to go with a sure number 1 right now for Mare.
I think I'll agree with that.
Haley Steinfeld.
I haven't seen Jenna Ortega in anything personally, but looking at her, she fits. She seems kind of tiny. Mm-hmm. I kind of
little firecracker type thing.
I'm kind of intrigued by that. I think if we were going to do a backup, it would either be her or Melina Wiseman would be a suitable, like,
runner-up.
What do you call that one?
Understudy?
Understudy.
Yeah. Understudy, so.
I guess, do we want to have, like, a double understudy, or do we want to choose one?
Yeah, it's a 2-way tie for number 2.
Yeah, 2-way tie for number 2 there.
Between Melina Wiseman and Jenna Ortega.
Jenna Ortega. Yeah, I like that. I think that's actually pretty accurate.
Yes.
So next, do we want to leap into Cal here? Might as well, because Cal's a tough one.
Yeah, we've got so few Cal options.
Cal isn't going to take long.
Since we can't go back 15 years ago and get Henry Cavill, which would be what I would want to do.
We can't hop in a time machine till before I was born.
And no, we can't put Henry Cavill now because he clearly looks like he's not 19 years old. So
before anyone says it, you can't throw a Hemsworth in there either. No, they're all too old.
No. I would think the first one on the list is also probably a little bit too old, but he does kind of have a baby face, so he might be able to play younger.
And he pulls it off basically being a teenager in a show currently.
Yeah.
That's true.
And the thing that I like, okay, let's go ahead and say who it is.
Yes.
Dacre Montgomery. Otherwise known as Billy from Stranger Things.
Right. And if you see, I mean, you pull the picture up and you look at him, he's got the build.
Yeah. Right.
He's
definitely
got the look.
Right.
And if you've watched Stranger Things, he's a very compelling actor because he's pulled off a lot of depth and character because we've seen Billy deal with his, he looks like just a jerk, but then we find out his father is abusive and he's really protecting his sister from his father. So there's a lot more depth there, and he does a great job of being charming in one moment and then devious in the next moment. And I think he's got a depth of acting.
He has that Terry Silver quality.
And some great facial expressions.
Yeah.
Which you need for Cal. Cal has so much depth that you have to see on his face.
Because he doesn't talk a whole lot.
Right.
So
but he's conflicted a lot.
Right.
So that's that one I think is right now kind of my lead.
Yeah.
Because of the ability that him to be able to pull off a character, I think. And some of the ones behind, I haven't really seen anything yet. So.
Yeah. Dad and I are both coming from that perspective with our two other options.
Yeah, this is where these were my two suggestions because they're more characters that I know from shows.
There's first one is Connor Jessup.
Connor Jessup, he played the oldest son, and I cannot remember for the life of me his name. Oh, Tyler. Tyler from Netflix's Lock and Key. So if you guys have seen Lock and Key, he plays the oldest brother. The one that played his sister on the show, she could also be a mare possibility, but she's a little pale, kind of, I would almost think too pretty, which is where Jenna Ortega almost kind of falls, too pretty, but I think you could probably dirty her up.
She's almost too
dirty Connor Jessup.
Haley Steinfeld is very pretty, but you can, as you've seen, like I said, in other movies.
Yeah, in True Grit, they made her look pretty plain. So I think you just kind of
it's all in how
grime them up a little bit.
Yeah, it's all in how they're made up and portrayed.
With Connor Jessup, my biggest thing was he pulls off the guy next door, the kind of unassuming guy pretty well, but can hop into action if he needs to. That's very much how Tyler on Lock and Key was. He was protective of his family, but he didn't jump into action if he didn't need to.
Right.
He was more kind of standing back and observing everything before just rushing headlong into it like Mare does. So I think that's where I get the idea for Connor Jessup for Cal. And I also think with his size, he could probably bulk up and be as swole as Cal would need to be. He's a natural blonde, as is my next choice. So we'd have to do some hair dye.
Yeah.
We can handle that.
And some contacts. So they'd have to be safe with, getting made up like a Cullen from Twilight. Because that's basically what they would be. And then my next suggestion is Logan Schroyer, who plays high school age Kevin on This Is Us. So if you've watched This Is Us, when they first show Kevin with Sophie, or the age that he is when Jack dies, that is Logan Schroyer. So he's also a blonde. So we'd have to kind of grime him up a little bit too.
Regardless, because Dacre Montgomery is almost dirty blonde.
Yeah.
He has lighter hair as well.
I feel like I'm seeing him somewhere, but I can't think of where. I'm trying to look through his IMDb to find out where I'm seeing him.
So,
but based on appearance, I'm digging it.
Logan Schroyer? Yeah. I mean, you may have just seen him in promos for This Is Us and stuff because he has played Teenage Kevin on This Is Us the entire run.
Yeah.
And that's been 6 seasons. So I know, I've watched him over the years grow up and kind of grow into his body a little bit. Kevin's a football player on the show when he's in high school until he gets injured and has to quit playing. But yeah, so you can make him look more athletic and stuff like that. And then he's also got that sort of classic good looking thing, where you don't have to worry too much about making him look regal. Yeah, that's several years ago. That picture was early on in This Is Us. It's that one's been a couple of years ago. But he's definitely got the Prince look. That part of it, you would not have to question whether or not when he puts on a tuxedo that he has to beat the girls off with a stick because they would just be flocking to him.
Right.
And if you put him next to either of the guys that we have for Maven, that guy is going to look like he lives in this dude's shadow.
Right. Yeah.
Which is important.
I agree.
Whoever we cast for Maven, it's very important that he can demure himself and look like he's living in the shadow of this older brother.
I've seen a couple of some for Maven, because like I said, when we wanted some submissions and even going and looking online, a lot of what I see is just pictures, not even the names. And it's like, okay, I need to know a name and what they've been in so we can see if they can act, just because you see a picture and you think, oh, he would look cute as Maven.
Right.
First of all, I'm not saying Maven would be unattractive, but he's not ripped. He's not square-jawed. That's not Maven. It's not the way he's described or the vibe you get from Maven.
Right.
So there has to be a difference between those two. A visible, like you said, you could see where Maven would live in the shadow of this guy. And he's got it. I mean, we've only got 3 names because Cal's so hard.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched This Is Us like you have.
Right.
But I know it's a very well-made show. It's not. So,
and it conveys emotions really well.
Right.
There's got to be some acting ability. Yeah, there has to be some good acting has to be on point to be able to really handle a character like that. So, that may be my number 1.
Connor Jessup? Logan Schroyer.
I don't know.
If he can bulk up, if he can get the beefy swollenness.
The swole part.
Which he's getting to that age now. So I think he's in his early 20s. He could probably get that beefiness going.
Having the one thing that brings me back when we're talking about Dacre Montgomery is he's going to be a guy that almost anybody is going to look like living in his shadow.
Right.
And he's already jacked.
Right.
And shredded and built like you would think Cal would be built.
An action figure.
Right.
Yeah. He had to tone it down.
So that's a very good point.
For Stranger Things.
Yeah, they actually had to have him put on about 5 or 10 pounds to make him look like...
Your abs can't look like that when you're 19.
Your average
You're too
Indiana
rich for a 19-year-old
lifeguard is not going to look like that.
in Indiana in the 80s.
But somebody who trains all day, every day to be a soldier and is constantly worried about his body...
Right.
Doesn't have to go to school or watch over anybody. You could put that shreddedness back in there.
What do you
and then
think?
Throw some scenes where he has to take his shirt off in.
Right. What do you think, Mia?
I don't know.
Beth, who do you think is your number 1? I'm gonna have to ponder this again.
Are we putting this to like a vote?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We got 3 options. What if we each pick one different?
Then
they're all 3 good actors, in my opinion. So that part of it we don't have to worry about. They can do the charming part of it. As far as physical attributes, I think I would probably pick Logan Schroyer. He seems a little more broad-shouldered, carry himself with a little more pomp. So that would be my vote. For Cal, I would vote Logan Schroyer with dyed hair and contacts.
Well, they're going to be dyed hair and contacts no matter
regardless,
pretty much. I don't know anyone who has bronze eyes.
Right, contacts regardless, and for all 3 of these people, also dyed hair.
With dyed hair, yeah, or a wig.
What do you think, Mia?
I don't know. Do you have a vote, Dad, or you need to ponder more?
I'm still pondering.
Man. This is hard.
Cal's a toughie.
I know.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go Logan Schroyer 1, and a close understudy will be Dacre Montgomery. And the main reason is I trust you, Beth, when it comes to the acting ability. But looking at the picture with black hair, he would be a perfect match as far as brother for who I know is my number 1 for Maven, and probably yours too. You can see the similarities, even though they're different.
Yeah.
By looking at them.
You could be like, oh, these guys are similar, but they have different moms.
Right, I can see how these guys could be half-brothers.
Right.
Yes.
And one sort of being a smaller version
of the other. Yeah. I'll agree with that. I think you have a good point there.
And honestly, there's a couple of Mavens that that would actually fit with, to be fair. But I think I know who I think should be Maven, and I don't think there's a debate amongst the three of us. Probably we have
right. Well, did Mia cast her vote for Cal?
Yes, I am agreeing with Dad based on the physical appearance. Mostly.
So it's unanimous.
Yes,
wow.
It is unanimous.
There we go.
Unanimous.
Logan Troyer, congratulations.
Plus, my vote wouldn't have done anything. You guys were technically already outnumbering me.
What about your number two? Number two? I think Dacre Montgomery is my number two.
I think he's like close number two. A number two. Okay, Mom.
I see you're close number two, too.
Yes. Close understudy.
I'm okay with that.
It's close for me.
All right, so we've got that one.
You're the one who's seen all three of those people in something, so it's probably harder for you. Or maybe it's, I don't know. Does it make it easier?
I mean, I don't want to knock Connor Jessup off the list because I think he could be a front runner, but from what I have the least amount of experience watching him on screen because there's only been 2 8-episode seasons of Lock and Key versus 6 seasons of This Is Us and 3 seasons of Stranger Things for Billy.
Right.
I mean, he was only on season 2 and 3, but there was a lot of emotional range in those versus where in Lock and Key, Connor Jessup didn't have to show that much of an emotional range. The protectiveness is there, you know, the big brother protectiveness, but it's there for Logan Troyer as well.
Yeah.
So I think Logan Troyer is a good choice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Can we move
on to Maven?
Yeah,
we're going to the big one.
Can you hear the excitement in my voice?
We've been talking about this one for a long time.
Maven also has the second most possibilities on this list.
That's true.
Only to Mare.
Of course, we have the one that we've been talking about since the beginning, and we've even mentioned it on the show before.
Yes, we have.
And there's one.
It's the most popular option on the internet.
There's one on here that
Is it really?
Yeah.
There's one on here that's actually on 2. He's actually on for Kalorn, and I like him much better as Kalorn. The thought of him as Kalorn than I do Maven.
Yeah.
I do too.
To be honest. So we can just move him over to the Maven side for now.
Kalorn.
For the Kalorn side. We'll just
We're all a little tired.
A little bit.
Because he actually may be my front runner for Kalorn almost at
you
this point. Looking at what we have.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
So Maven, number 1.
We'll get there.
Our number 1 and who we've been talking about, we've even referenced him on our show multiple times. And it's who, when I read the book from the beginning, I pictured.
Yes.
Agreed.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yes. Chalamet, yeah.
And it's almost like when you look at like the compiled physical description and then you think of what Timothy Chalamet looks like, you're like, was she looking at a picture of him?
Yeah.
And then just described him?
Pretty much.
I mean, I agree. The black hair, the pale complexion, kind of thin.
Even like his facial structure.
Eyes,
even how she describes his face.
The more gaunt face to Cal's swollitude. You can see it looks like when you look into his eyes, like his brain is always going all the time. Like there's something behind his eyes and you can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for Maven because you need to be able to see how he could draw somebody in and then twist on them super fast.
Yeah.
So he needs to have a charming side.
Right.
He needs to have a part where you can see somebody falling under his spell.
Right.
And if you've seen, for the people that have seen Don't Look Up on Netflix, he definitely looks very different in the show, but he has a lot more funny parts where he's telling jokes and he's supposed to be more of a misfit than we see him in other things.
Right.
So that part of it is good, but if you see him in Dune, you can see where the more princely part of him would come in.
I think
where he can
Dune is what sealed it for me.
Yeah, he can do the fall in line. He can play the dutiful son.
Right.
But he can also play the parts where he's a little more charming and a little more drawing
100%.
Mare in and relatable, but then also the vulnerable living in the shadow of the perfect older brother. So he's got all of the dimensions there that we would need for Maven to have, in my opinion.
I agree.
Right.
I agree. I think we all agree that that's one of our tops. But let's
Yes.
go through what else
we'll
we've got.
go through them all. We'll discuss it, and we'll.
Since we're moving one over, the next one we have is Noah Schnapp.
Noah Schnapp.
That's
Schnapp.
Will Byers.
Yep.
Yes.
Will the Wise
Stranger
from
Things.
Stranger
If
Things.
you've watched Stranger
However-
Things, look at him. Actually, look at what he looks like when he doesn't have a bowl cut on Stranger Things. And he's
Look
a different
past
looking
the
kid.
hair, or like
Unfortunate.
look at an actual picture of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at a red carpet pic.
Yeah.
One of the things that I saw multiple times, I saw pictures or saw him as referenced as Kalorn, which I don't see.
No.
But the reason I thought
I don't like
the
that.
Maven one, I was like, oh, maybe. But then I saw this picture, and if you look at his face and at his eyes, and I'm going to show you this picture,
I feel like he's.
it kind of sells.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of sells me almost.
I can see that.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, there's definitely a look in his eyes and his face there that I could see.
Because you want to have him seem more unassuming at the
Right.
beginning.
And everybody loves.
You know, the little brother that everybody overlooks.
Right.
Everybody loves Noah Schnapp. Everybody, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's Will.
He's
I can't see Will
Will.
being.
Will!
I can't see Will being the evil Maven. Well, you
That's
didn't
the
see.
That's what makes it
You didn't
perfect.
see
You didn't
Maven
see
being
Maven
the
being the
evil
evil
Maven until
Maven.
chapter 26.
You didn't see that coming, but
Right.
like he could pull it off once the switch happens.
I think he could pull it off. So that picture is what kind of sold me on the
That is-
possibility.
Yeah.
The next one is kind of a long shot, but I don't hate it. But I haven't seen him in anything other than Gotham, and that's David. I think it's Mazow. That's how you pronounce him. He played young Bruce
Young Bruce in Gotham.
in
Yeah.
Gotham.
So we know he can do the quiet intensity because
Right.
Bruce Wayne
Exactly.
pretty much is quiet
But
intensity.
like, look at that. I mean, that's very Maven.
Yeah.
I can definitely see the, something's going on behind those eyes.
Right.
You can see that in his eyes. The charming, pull you in part of it.
Correct.
Bruce was very charming on Gotham, the
Yep.
seasons that we watched. He was able to get people to do what he wanted pretty easily. For a younger person, he did surprisingly well for the fight scenes and the choreography.
He did,
He
absolutely.
was, I think, maybe 14 or 15 when Gotham first came out. So, for a younger person, he was definitely able to do the more physical
Oh, yeah.
stuff. And even though Maven doesn't have much of that in this first book, you're going to need somebody who's going to be more
Right.
physically agile as the show goes on.
Yes.
And we do need someone who can, as we talked about with Timothée Chalamet, pull off the charming, charismatic
Yes.
part that he sucks you in with,
Yeah.
and then the
The unassuming
evil
Yes, and
sociopathic
then
side on the
just-
other side. So
Right.
flip.
that's
And it
a
has to
tough
be
one.
able to be a quick flip too.
Yeah.
It can't be like, he like morphs into that. It has to be he's there and he
It's
is
a switch.
it's an immediate switch.
Yeah. You can just turn it on and
Yeah.
turn it off.
Yeah, so that's not a bad one. And then the last one we have for Maven is Mark McKenna.
Yeah.
Which you said is who you've seen him in. We saw him in Overlord and didn't even realize
In
it.
Overlord, yeah, when he was very young. And also the Peacock series, One of Us is Lying. He plays Simon, who is a very manipulative, cunning character. In One of Us is Lying, Simon doesn't do anything that doesn't further the agenda of Simon. So even though all of his stuff is played in flashback and he's supposed to be the bad guy, but Simon's not really supposed to have any redeeming qualities. Maven doesn't have any real... That's the picture right there, yeah.
I mean, that
Save that one
almost-
because that's
that
the one we're
almost
going to put on
sells me
Instagram.
on him,
yeah. That is the Simon picture from One of Us is Lying, and that's perfect. He's so slimy and so scheming, and he literally looks like he could have grown up in the shadow of Logan Schroyer. Like, gotten less sunlight, gotten less attention. You can tell, that
Yeah.
this is somebody who is living in his big golden boy brother's shadow.
Yes.
And I think that's where Mark McKenna could pull that off. He could look unassuming. He could look charming and he could look evil and manipulative all at the same time. And I think all three of those are very important for Maven.
Yes.
So do we want to vote?
I mean, I think we all have a number one.
Yeah, the same number one.
Are we just gonna go ahead and keep that, and then we'll just vote on a understudy?
An understudy? Yeah, because we've all been talking about the same number one for months.
Right.
So that's definitely going to be Timothée Chalamet.
Yes.
Who wants to go first for number two for the understudy?
It's this one isn't like how Cal was, where it was like they all have like the pluses and then like a couple negatives. They're just all
nothing but pluses
up there.
I'm gonna have to go with my understudy being Mark McKenna. I think based on what I've seen him in, he could play all those different sides. He has the range. He has the look. You don't have to do a lot with him physically to make him fit into the Maven persona. So that would be my vote for understudy, would be Mark McKenna.
I think I'm going to agree. What do you think?
You guys got to stop agreeing with each other, because then I just feel pressure to agree with you.
You don't have to, though. We want to hear your opinion.
You don't have to. Dissenting opinions still welcome.
As far as our number one, Timothée Chalamet, I think will remain my number one.
Yes.
I know where you're going to go with your understudy, because you've seen him in more stuff.
But that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I don't want to do that. I don't want that to be the reason that I keep voting. And I also don't want it to be just because you guys are agreeing.
Well, I get that.
So,
I'm going to be honest with you. Noah Schnapp is not far off either, at all. And I think one of the main reasons is because it would be, for people who've never read the book and then watch the show, they would fall in love with him, and it would be such a huge blow.
I think it would almost make the twist
when he
better.
Did turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And one thing for me is,
I've got the picture of him. We can post too. The one that made me think, wow, okay, I think maybe he could be Maven.
And the thing for me about, and I'm going to ask Mom about Mark McKenna is, do you think he can really pull off that charming, unassuming, draw you in type situation?
100%.
Okay.
Because he's very much the unassuming guy next door kind of in Overlord. You know what I mean? He's not the jump in first, go BTTW when they jump off that plane. So I think he could definitely do that part of it and have the more charming aspect of it. But then the whole, there's something behind those eyes.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter what I say. Technically, again, if we're doing a voting, you guys both already agree.
Yeah, so but we still want to hear your opinion.
Well, I don't know.
So Timothée Chalamet.
Present.
He's our first.
Timothy. Sure, his parents thought they were so clever.
So what did you decide? Do you think Timothée Chalamet is your number one, Mia?
Yes.
Yeah, we've all decided that. We just need to get her opinion on the second one.
I'll agree with you guys.
Understudy. Mark McKenna?
Yep, I'm fine with it.
Congratulations, Mark McKenna.
Okay.
You're Timothée Chalamet's understudy. Fantastic. Moving on. Who's next?
Farley.
Okay.
Diana Farley.
Yes.
I don't feel like there's a ton of discussion on this one. I feel like we all know who our number one is.
Yeah.
And based on your list, I picked out my number two pretty quick.
We'll have to look at it and see it. Yeah, we'll get there. There's one on here that also I put on because everyone keeps posting her, and I just want to put on her so that I could actually remove her because I don't think she would be good at all, but that's just my opinion.
And this isn't anything against any of the people who have suggested this anywhere. It's just, this is our opinion, and we will state our case for why not.
Correct.
Right. So let's start with number 1.
Yes.
We all have the same number 1.
I think we've said it a couple times on the show as well.
Yeah. And I know we've put it on our socials
and I've seen
too.
Yes.
This is one that I've actually seen quite a few people say too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have seen this other places, so it's not just us.
So
She could definitely fit. The
Oh,
age
yeah.
is a little
Shaky.
a little fudgy, but I think she could play younger.
I think she can play younger, and Farley's at, I don't know how old she is, like 23 or something like that, has
22.
been through a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Probably
Grown
not
up
going to
really
look like
hard.
your normal 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll get in. There's another character that is on this list where we'll get into a similar situation
Right.
where they look older than they are.
Yeah.
So this one, number 1, is Natalie Dormer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we pretty much all agree on that one.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we all agree on that one.
With or without the accent, doesn't matter.
It doesn't really
Throw
matter.
the accent in there. In the
I don't
audiobook,
care.
she's got an accent.
I've seen her
Fine.
in a dozen movies. She can
drop
definitely-
it.
She can definitely pull off this part too.
Right.
And play the character as it's needed. 100%.
Yeah, I never had an option in my head for Farley at all,
No.
other
No.
than Natalie Dormer.
We did come up
That
with a
was
couple
number 1.
options.
Yeah, we have some options on here, and one
Oh.
of them really stands out to me, but the other two, it's kind of like,
One of them is the next one that I put on here, and this is because I've seen her name a ton
Yes.
for both Farley and for Evangeline. And I
Yes.
like her for neither. And that's Cara Delevingne. Is that her name?
yeah.
Yes.
She's been in a couple of things, but she's mostly a model.
She's a model, yeah.
And the main reason I kind of disqualified her is because I've seen her in a couple of things, and I don't think she can pull. Not to be mean, I don't think she can do the part.
No,
Not a great actress.
no, she's really not.
So the rest of the other 3 on here are very good actresses.
Also,
Yeah. She was not good in Suicide Squad at all.
I've also seen some pictures of her, and I feel like she's almost too conventionally pretty.
She's almost too like model looking.
Yeah.
And
I mean, she is a model, yeah.
Right. And I
Right.
don't see. I see Farley being incredibly attractive, incredibly pretty, because she's mentioned that she's pretty multiple
Right.
times. Natalie Dormer was gorgeous.
Exactly.
But she doesn't look and have that air of, I just walked off a runway.
Yeah.
And
I just
I just ate half a Big Mac. I need to go throw up.
right.
So that's
Yeah.
where I'm at on
I
that.
think she's too pretty. The tallness is there. She's tall,
She's relatively tall, yeah.
but I think she's too polished and too pretty.
Yeah.
So we've discussed that one because I'm going to take her off of our Evangeline because we've actually got 2 really good Evangelines too, I think.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Okay, so the next Farley entrant is Maya Hawke.
Yes. Which I don't hate.
I don't hate it either.
That's the only other contender for me on this list.
Maya
yeah.
Is Maya Hawke.
You said something about it. You said something about her, and I was like, oh my
'Cause I was
god. I
looking
never
through
thought
and
about
I saw
it.
her and I was like, you know what? She would
But-
actually be a good Farley.
Wow.
Yeah, I could see that a lot. Very pretty,
Yes.
Very pretty.
More age appropriate.
more age
Con-
appropriate.
Conventionally pretty. Not, model
Yes.
that's very pretty.
Yeah, she can pull off the attitude
100%.
Yes.
we saw in Stranger
Oh.
Things. She stood up to the Russians and whatnot and was
mhm.
constantly
Spit in
busting
some dude's
Steve's
face.
chops.
Right.
So she can definitely pull that part of it off.
I like that one a lot. when
She
it
Yeah.
comes
comes
to my
from
mind.
great acting stock.
Right.
So we've seen that before. You guys haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but she plays
No.
a Manson girl in that. So she can do the thing, she can change her look and be more of a character actress than just playing the same thing in every role.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which I like.
She was more
Yes.
lovable and quirky in Stranger Things, but more strange and out there and mysterious in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that she could go for that.
I thought
So
you might
that's
like that one.
Yeah.
That's my number. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out as my number 2.
And then we'll just go ahead and bring up the third one. And I brought this one up because I've seen her listed multiple times in different things for Farley, and that's Anya Taylor-Joy. I don't necessarily hate it. She could act. She can definitely act. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
But with the eyes, and she's almost
Too doe-eyed.
She's almost too immediately, doe-eyed and kind of, oh,
Right.
so cute. You know
Look
what I'm
at
saying?
her. Yeah.
Because with the other two, the ones that we're saying are, number one, and then Maya Hawke, you can see them both being, like, not attractive. Like, they're both pretty, but you can see them...
Oh, yes.
You could grime them up.
Right. And you could see people being like, yes, they are at least rough.
Okay, so, like...
They can both pull that off.
There's the part in the book where Farley takes her mask down and Mare sees the scar and says, even with the scar, she's quite pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
Without pulling the mask down, Anya Taylor-Joy, you're going to see her eyes and be like, oh my God, she's gorgeous.
She's a Powerpuff Girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people just have it in their eyes.
Yeah. She's a Disney princess. It's not going to work.
But I've seen that a lot. I wanted to put that one. It's not that she couldn't do the part. I just don't think it fits the way I feel the character looks.
If I was going to take somebody from that era, that kind of Anya Taylor-Joy era, and put them for Farley, I would almost pick Jane Levy instead of Anya Taylor-Joy.
Jane Levy.
From Don't Breathe?
Oh, but she's way too short.
She is very short.
She's dinky.
Yeah. And I believe Anya Taylor-Joy is fairly short as well.
She's not super tall.
Maya Hawke is a little taller because her mom is a freaking Amazon.
Yeah.
So her mom's like 5'11" or something stupid like that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think Anya Taylor-Joy, she'd be more like a Queen's Trial girl.
Yeah.
She
Agreed.
looks more like, she didn't have the hard life growing up and stuff like that we would have to have for Farley.
Right. So I think...
So do we even need to vote on this one?
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Natalie Dormer's number one and Maya Hawke are number two. Okay. Number two.
That was easy. Congratulations, Farley.
Now we go to one that's a little
Most
difficult
simple.
because I've seen such a wide range of people listed for Julian. I've seen anywhere from like older gray-haired people to like Henry Cavill or Mark Ruffalo Julian is only like I think mid-40s maybe.
Probably, yeah. Corey Ann's older brother.
But I don't what we get of hints of him kind of stoop-shouldered, a little bit graying chestnut hair. He's a little frail. Mm-hmm. He reads all the time. He's been through so much. I mean, his sister murdered.
Yeah.
The throne taken away, and the woman that he loves had her tongue cut out because she wouldn't be silent about what she knew. So he's
been relegated to a very pigeonholed position.
Right. So
you have to have a look of defeat.
Yes.
And somebody who's been beaten down by their circumstances.
I feel like even though he's in his 40s, he's going to appear older and more weathered because of his circumstances, what has happened to him through his life. So that's kind of where I was at on the character. That's why some of the ones where it's like, Henry Cavill or why is Julian? Like, where did you reading the book come across and thought when you hear Julian talking to Mare that Henry Cavill was playing? I mean, like you said, Henry Cavill 10 years ago, awesome Cal.
Would have made a great Cal.
Right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we can't do that.
No.
Can't
not
use
really
a time machine.
Anything else.
And there's no real order to these because I just started throwing them as I saw them because I didn't have a firm grasp of the four. If we come up with something new, that's great. So we're just going to go through these as they are. The first person that I had listed down here was Leland Orser. Kind of a fringe one.
I don't hate that one.
No.
He's a character actor, so he can definitely morph into different types of roles. You can see that wisdom behind his eyes that that Julian has because he's seen some stuff over the years. So that part of it is good as well.
And if you don't think you've seen him in anything, you have because he's been in so much. You just may not recognize the name. Yeah. He was in ER for years.
Mm-hmm. He was one of the doctors on the board of ER, so he was constantly showing up when they would have like Anspaugh and all the other doctors come in. Leland Orser would be there. Probably most well known for his role in Seven.
True.
So if you've seen Seven, you know that. And of course, I mean, his character's very peculiar in that show, and you don't get a lot of emotion other than just the emotion he's experiencing in the movie, which is fear and being terrified. But
He was in an episode of X-Files we watched not too long ago. That's where I was like, hey, he wouldn't be bad.
Yeah. He's on the older side. The actor's probably in his late 50s, early 60s, because he has been acting for so long. And he's married to Beth Davids, and I know she's in her 50s, if not early 60s as well.
Well, yeah.
But I think for
Army
what
of
we've...
was 87.
Yeah. For what we've described with Julian,
right.
Where he's been harder on his body. He drinks. He's been through all of this stuff. He probably doesn't go out and get much sunlight.
Yeah.
He stays in the dark, holed up with his books.
Yeah.
So I would think somebody who looks
literally
a little more
the worst
haggard,
thing for your body.
Yeah. Leland
Right.
Orser wouldn't be a bad choice.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody I have on here is actually on the older side because, again, that's kind of how I lean for Julian. I think
and it's like,
almost have to.
Now, if you go into like the mid-40s, which is probably about where he would land, I haven't done the math. If you look it up, it says
I would
44.
say mid-40s, yeah.
The problem is if you look up actual actors in their mid-40s, early 50s, you get Paul Rudd, The Rock. Get these guys that... Tom Cruise. You get these guys that don't look like they're in their 50s.
Exactly.
And that's not kind of the opposite.
Right. So I would rather have someone that's a little bit older and even looks older. However, it would still make more sense because he just looks older than he is.
The next one we have on here is, in my opinion, the best actor in the entire list of any of our lists, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's best for the part. But I don't hate it, and that's Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Yes.
He can play the wisdom, you know that.
100%. He can play bad guy, good guy. I mean, our son watched the
Unassuming
entire
guy.
movie with me and didn't even realize until afterwards. I was like, so what'd you think of Gary Oldman? Gary Oldman was in that? Yeah, it's The Professional. He's like the main bad guy.
He's the main dude.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that was Gary Oldman.
Well, yeah, because he was young in that one.
So.
Yeah, he's definitely got the range.
And I don't hate it. And I think even if he comes across a little older, it doesn't bother me. So that's one that I'm not 100% against. The next one, however, for some reason, feels right to me for Julian.
Yeah.
And he's older as well. And that is Sam Neill. Obviously from Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Fame. Amongst other movies.
Mm.
The only thing I would say is Sam Neill now is probably way too old to play that young. If you've seen what he looks like in the trailers for Jurassic World Dominion, he has definitely surpassed the old guy line.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting old. He's definitely older. But
the wisdom and stuff like that, the no nonsense,
right.
I definitely see that.
And I feel like I could see Sam Neill delivering, as I could Gary Oldman, to be honest, though, several of the
big monologues.
That Julian delivers.
Yeah.
So I don't. And then we'll go straight to the fourth one, but then we'll kind of discuss a little bit.
I've got one more I want to add that I just thought of.
Really?
Yeah.
The fourth one is Jude Law. I don't hate that either.
I like this one.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
If you would have told me, like, I don't know, 15 years ago that I would dig Jude Law, I probably would have said whatever, because I didn't like, and I don't know why, because he's a good actor. He was fantastic in Road to Perdition.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was so good in that.
I like him as Dumbledore.
Yeah.
In the Fantastic Beasts movies.
So far, he has been a good young Dumbledore.
He seems very relatable. He can play that wisdom thing.
Yeah, he's been already dropping some wisdom bombs.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of that cockiness that he had when he was younger. You know, the actor has been through a lot in the public spotlight, and I think that's really knocked him down a few pegs to where when he acts, he concentrates more on the performance so much as being Jude Law. Like he did when he was younger. So I think that he has really perfected his acting chops and his ability to be a chameleon on screen.
That one's, yeah. Since you said that one's grown on me quite a bit, honestly.
It's one of those things where it's like, mom like planted the seed and it's just kind of been
kind of grown a little bit
all day.
The problem is, if you look pictures of him up now, you see a lot of older pictures. If you look at him now, he actually looks about what I could see Julian looking like.
Yeah.
If it were like the real deal. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty Julian.
It's pretty Julian. Then the surprise one that I'm going to throw at you guys, and Greg, you've seen this guy and stuff.
What is it?
Ben Barnes, who played Billy / Jigsaw in The Punisher.
The only thing I love him as an actor because he was so good in The Punisher.
He was so good in The Punisher.
The one thing I would say, he's almost too ruggedly handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to age him up a little bit and make him look like he's got a drinking problem and stuff. And where Billy was when they started The Punisher, when Frank Castle found him and he was a little more damaged, that would be more the portrayal that I would look for with Julian. Not the cocky psychopath he became when they had the big fight at the end. And he transferred more into the Jigsaw role.
About the right age.
But
he's
more,
40.
yeah, more what I would think of if you kind of aged him up a little bit. Like give him some scruff, put some Nikolai Coster-Waldau gray hairs at his temples and stuff like that. And I think he could be a fairly good Julian.
I get where...
Holy cow, boy. Get him 15 years ago, he could have been Cal.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He's a big, strong guy.
He's a big dude. Yeah.
Wow.
I understand where you're coming from with that. I almost feel like it'd be, like we were talking about, it'd be better to go with someone that's a little bit older.
Right.
Than have an actor that's younger and looks younger and then have to like
age him up
and make him look more.
But let me tell you,
you get the point. Like make him look more.
I like
ragged.
I like who we have already. I only have a number one for the king because the other ones I don't agree with at all. He wouldn't be a bad king. Tiberius.
No, not really.
I see where you're going with that.
You could see him fathering both the actors that we have for Maven and Cal.
Yeah.
So that may be another option for him.
And throw him on that list instead of the Julian list.
Yeah.
I'll put him on there.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. We ready to vote for Julian?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, let's vote. We're going to move Ben Barnes over to the king.
Yeah.
So we've got Leland Orser, Gary Oldman, Sam Neill, and Jude Law.
Okay.
So let's vote. Beth? You don't. Okay, Mia, you go first.
No. It's I'm thinking. I'm pondering.
Okay, Beth, what do you think for your 1 and 2?
For number 1,
do we want to vote for 1 first and then vote for 2 so we keep those separate?
Yes.
Yeah. Number 1, I think with the ones that we have on the list, I would vote for Jude Law.
I think I'm going to concur with that.
I would too.
All right, Jude Law, congratulations.
As if this means anything for
You're
you, because you're Jude Law.
No, you're Julian.
Okay.
For number
Since
2...
we can't get Cass from Days of Our Lives because he's too old now.
For number 2, and maybe it's just a... Because, maybe it's just me being true to my heart, I would pick Gary Oldman for my number 2.
I may have to say the same. That's what I was thinking.
I'm going to be the dissenting vote and say Leland Orser for the understudy. So you guys win with the majority, but I still get a vote in for Leland Orser.
Yes. The only thing that I have really seen Gary Oldman in is Harry Potter. However, some of the wisdom bombs that even Sirius drops on Harry, some of them are pretty sizable and nice.
You haven't seen any of the Nolan Batman movies?
I have...
Where have we gone wrong?
Huh?
Where have we gone wrong?
No. The thing is, I have, but not like, I wasn't...
He's Commissioner Gordon. Well,
I wasn't paying attention because I would have been younger,
right.
And I wouldn't have cared.
Well, we need to go back and fix that.
Okay, guys, we're going to split this one into 2 parts. We've had such a great conversation that we are going to make this one a 2-parter. So we will leave you on the cliffhanger of having picked our Julian, and we will pick back up with Evangeline and some of the other characters in part 2. So let me throw the socials out at you guys. I'm sure you know them already, but we'll give them to you again just in case this is the first time you're stumbling on us. You can catch us on Instagram. That's where we are the most active. It's just at Reading with the Rockefellers. So we're always doing fun content on there, reels, lots of posts. I love getting DMs from you guys, finding fan art. That's all awesome stuff. So we appreciate that.
Pictures of our little 4-legged babies.
Pictures of our 4-legged babies. Yeah. So all kinds of great stuff to find there. You can also email us directly at readingwiththerockefellers@gmail.com. We can take fan art submissions there, fan casting for books 2 through 4, which we will get to eventually since we're closing out part 1 of fan casting for the first book here. So that's readingwiththerockefellers@gmail.com. You can find all of our episodes in video version on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get the notifications of when we drop new episodes. Mia puts together wonderful videos of all of our episodes, so you can check us out there. And then we also have our website, which is just www.readingwiththerockefellers.com. All of our episodes are there, our fan art. We'll put all the pictures for the casting episodes up. They'll have their own page, so you'll be able to see all of that there. And then there's links to how to find the show on Spotify, Stitcher, things like that. We really appreciate 5-star reviews. So if you guys get a chance, you can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a rating and a review. It definitely helps the show and help people find us.
Or if you're watching it on YouTube and you're watching a video, give it a like.
Yeah, give it a like, leave a comment, and tell a friend that is a fan of the series and have them come along on this journey with us. We really appreciate you guys being here, and we will be back next week with the second half of our fan casting episode. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.